Hello everyone, in this video I will show you how to use the new sprint function in Notion. I will give you a quick introduction to sprints and will briefly explain what sprints actually are and why they are so useful in project management. If you already know that, then you don't have to watch the next 2 minutes. Just fast forward to where I explain how to use sprints in Notion. Alright, let's get started. Sprints are a concept from project management, and this concept aims to break down complex projects into manageable time-limited sections, and these sections are called sprints. Why sprints? Well, because they typically last a short time. 1 to 4 weeks is the typical duration, and during this time there's a clearly defined goal that should be achieved during this sprint, and the team focuses on completing all the tasks that are necessary to achieve that goal. At the end of each sprint, it is checked whether the goal has actually been achieved and which tasks are still open. Feedback is collected and the next steps are planned for the next sprint. As we can see, sprints offer several benefits, including the ability to break down complex projects into manageable pieces. And they offer a clear focus on short-term goals. And they also come with regular reviews and adjustments of goals and tasks, as well as the promotion of team collaboration. Sprints and projects are very similar concepts, but sprints can actually be seen as a kind of time frame within an existing project that helps to complete certain work packages or tasks. And therefore, sprints are typically shorter than projects, so usually lasting 1 to 4 weeks. So, to summarize, a project encompasses the entire activities we need to do to achieve a certain goal, while a sprint is a time-limited section within this project to achieve sub-goals. And today we are looking at the new feature in Notion, the new sprint feature. And the first question is, how can we actually access that? Well, that's the first difficulty, because we have to use a template to use sprints. It's not a feature that is available in the standard database. So we have to use one of the standard templates of Notion. So we are clicking at templates, and here we see project, tasks, and sprints. So we need to load that template. So using sprints in Notion is a bit complicated, but I hope that there will be an update soon that will allow me and us to insert sprints into normal databases in Notion. So now when we load the template, 4 pages are created with databases, and they're called tasks, projects, sprints, and sprint boards. And for the sake of clarity, I would recommend moving those pages to a parent page so that we have them on the same page and it's easier to access them. So let's start moving the pages. How can we do that? Well, in the sidebar, we click on the 3 dots and then we click Move. Now we have to select a page. So we have called the page Sprints in Notion. And now the pages should be moved, but in this case, we will get a message. We get a message, do you really want to move sprints? And yes, we agree. So why do we get the message? Well, the databases of sprints, projects, and tasks are closely related. And when we move them together, the databases stay together, otherwise they get separated, and of course that causes some problems. So we agree, and the databases will be moved together. And now all 3 databases have been moved together, and we only have to move the sprint board. So let's do that again, and we just repeat the same process again. So let's have a look at our pages and databases. Tasks and projects. Well, that's classic project management, and we're not looking at that in this video today, but let's have a look at the databases sprints and the sprint board. Sprints, this is the database that shows all current, future, and past sprints, and you can also see the number of tasks in progress and percentage of tasks that are completed. The core of this template is the sprint board, and there's also the central platform to manage tasks that are associated with a particular sprint. So by clicking on the sprint board, you automatically get access to the current sprint, and you can track the progress of your tasks in real time. You can use the board view to drag and drop tasks, and when you drag a task and drop it into a new field, you are changing the status of the task. Here we also have the sprint planning database view, and that shows the current and all future sprints as well as all the associated tasks. In this example below, we have 3 tasks associated with the first sprint. And there's also the view called backlog. And that's important because here we find all the tasks that are not yet assigned to a sprint, or also unfinished tasks that were moved to the backlog. We come to that later. So how do we actually work with sprints in Notion? Well, as you should already know, sprints are an innovative way to organize tasks because they offer a flexible and dynamic way to manage projects. And a key feature is that tasks can be moved dynamically from one sprint to the next, if, for example, they are not completed within a sprint. And of course, you can do that in Notion as well. And we use a kind of automation for that. So we click on the complete sprint button here. And now we are asked a few things. First, we see the next sprint, the name of the next sprint. Then we can choose a start and an end date. And lastly, because we have not completed all tasks, we are now also asked whether we want to move the unfinished task from the current sprint to the next sprint. Optionally, we can also transfer these tasks to the backlog, or we can also keep them in the current sprint. And if we now go from here to the sprint database, we see that the current sprint is now called sprint 2, and we have created a future sprint or the next sprint, and that is called sprint 3. Of course, you can always adjust the names to your requirements, and that is actually my short introduction to this new sprint functionality in Notion. Personally, I find sprints very interesting, and I can imagine that they're not only interesting for larger teams or agencies, but also for smaller companies or self-employed solopreneurs, or maybe even students who simply want to manage the tasks a little bit more efficiently. I'm very excited to see how the sprint functionality in Notion will develop in the future and to what extent it will be integrated into normal databases. So let's see how this will develop. And until then, I advise you to try out this new functionality. So what do you think about sprints and would you use them in Notion? Let me know in the comments.